Hey, so I'm at the music park behind me, and here's an interesting cultural thing about China. This is how new real estate is made. A couple of years ago, these buildings were entirely complete, and they reached the end of their life, and so they've been purchased back from the owners. If anybody didn't want to leave, they have a contract to return later. But they stripped all the cladding off, completely gutted the inside down to the bare concrete walls. Now they'll come back in, put in new electronics, new piping, new cladding, and then the people who purchase the apartments can come in and redo the inside all themselves and make it totally new. So, in about a year, this will be brand new apartment structure. You can see this one's here is mostly finished, and that's how it works in China. So if you hear about some things like ghost cities, this is not it, but it's related. They're basically stripping all the bad karma, if you will, from previous residents and redoing the buildings, and then they'll be able to resell them. And again, if somebody didn't want to leave, they're temporarily rehoused somewhere else, and they can come back. I'm not sure if they get it for free or if it's at a reduced rate, but they can come back. They have first dibs on the apartment they were in before, and they can return. And that's part of how the Chinese housing market maintains its prices, because redoing this also means that the price of this property goes up. So the developers do this every so often, every 30, 40 years, I don't know. These buildings aren't that old, so maybe every 15 or 20 years. But all over Harbin there are buildings like this, and they're just they gut them, they rebuild them, and then there's a brand new housing complex where the old one used to be. So just an interesting part of Chinese culture. Okay, so here I am about 1.5 kilometers from my house, and here's some other stuff. You can see here are some buildings that probably will be redone soon. But these buildings are a good 30 to 50 years old. So when they take them, they probably will knock them down and replace them with more skyscrapers. These buildings are only 4 stories, 5 stories tall, depending on where you count from. Now behind these ones are some new buildings going up, which is why I think these ones will come down soon. But there's empty space behind the buildings. I don't know if there were buildings there before or not, but it's empty space now, and so they're building new buildings. And probably when they finish those, they'll take down the ones on the surface. They'll move the people in these front buildings back into the new buildings, and then knock down the old buildings and replace them. So over here, these are new. In fact, they're working on them. I'm on dirt right now, but eventually they're going to pave this and fill all of these with businesses, and that'll bring traffic back this way, and they'll finish this side. The buildings themselves are about 10 years old, but they're finishing up the outer wall of businesses now. So this is actually something I really like about China. Every community has, well, most communities, instead of having an outer wall, they have outer businesses. And that way there's always services for the neighborhood. There will be grocery stores and barber shops and butchers and greengrocers and real estate agents, whatever businesses you can think of you might need around an apartment community. And apartments here, by the way, are more like condos. Yeah, I'm renting, but I'm renting from a private owner who owns my apartment, and she owns at least one other apartment in my complex, and she owns her apartment is nearby that she lives in. So that's actually her retirement fund. she makes money off of these apartments that she owns and lives on that. So that's again, real estate is kind of the heart of the Chinese economy right now. Don't believe the reports that say that the heart of the economy is the Waimai guys. Yeah, they make a lot of money, but it's really real estate. So all of these doom and gloom things that you hear about the real estate community is collapsing, blah, 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 possibly. But the government knows how critical that is to keeping their multi-trillion-dollar economy afloat, and they're not going to let it fall. So they will pump in all kinds of money into that in order to keep it afloat artificially. So that's pretty much the Chinese economy right now. So what started as a little bit of culture about how they handle buildings turned into a history lesson of why China is so rich. See you later.